How big is this? We're being joined by the man behind Queensberry, the face of Queensberry, the founder of it all, the great Frank Warren, the best dressed man in combat sports. Hello, Frank. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Arrow? Good to see you, my friend.
Oh, yes. It's a pleasure as always. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I know it's a crazy and busy and exciting week for you and the team, so really, really appreciate it. Could I ask you off the top, how do you compare the buzz, the hoopla, all the excitement for this particular week compared to the last time Tyson fought back in October? A bit of a different fight against Francis Ngannou. How do you compare the two?
Oh, it's chalk and cheese. Obviously, Francis was a different proposition. Number one, we've never seen him in a boxing ring before, so we didn't know what to expect. Tyson had an off night. I don't think he was anywhere near himself, and despite that, he won the fight. But this fight, he knows what he's up against, as does Usyk. These two guys are both undefeated. This is a significant fight in the 21st century. It's the first time, as you quite rightly said, that the four belts have been contested to find out who is the best, who is the biggest, who's the baddest man on the planet in the heavyweight division. And, you know, I've sort of worked hard on the show, along with, under the auspices of His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, who's been the driving force of making things happen here in Saudi Arabia, and certainly with the Riyadh season, which has become a massive boxing destination now. This is obviously a postponed fight. That's why it's on after the season finished, but we're going ahead with it. His team really made this happen. It was them who put it together, along with everybody else who worked there. Spencer Brown, who manages and looks after Tyson, the management side of it, and Queensberry, my team there. And it's been a joy, because we're going to see something extra special. You know, normally you get a stage in the heavyweight division where it's the dominant guy maybe fighting the young new kid on the block, and it's passing the baton over. And we've seen that happen many times over the years. I certainly have anyway. But this time round, besides the four belts, you've got two guys who are in their prime. They're both undefeated. They're both in magnificent condition. I've never seen Tyson so fit, and probably out of bad came good when the fight was postponed due to the cut eye. He's had back-to-back training camps, and certainly the fact he never had a fight between, and he more or less finished his camp with the cut, that has made, he went into the second camp with looking, you know, we're having to lose weight or anything. He was in magnificent condition back then. So he's in really, really the best shape I've seen him in. And he's going to need to be as well, because it's the same with Usyk, he is. But for Tyson, I don't think he's going to come in heavy. Sorry about that.
No problem, no problem.
There's somebody knocking on the door. Could you come back later, please?
What is it, housekeeping?
I don't know what it is, but they're sod's law, isn't it? Always happens. But he needs to be in excellent condition. And I think he's going to come in a little bit lighter. Everybody's saying he looks light, which he does. And he looks more chiseled than I've ever seen him, because normally he's not one of those guys that are carved out of marble. You know, he can carry a bit of a spare tire or a bit of weight around him. A lot of that due to probably when he was sort of he must have been nearly over 300 pounds or whatever it was, and he lost that weight obviously. But now he's in this great shape, and I think the key to this is the jab. Whoever is dominant with a jab and speed, and I think Tyson, he's, for a big guy, and he's not that normal type of plodding heavyweight. He's fast on his feet. He's got fast hands. Got a good brain. Fights orthodox or southpaw. And I think just coming in this little bit lighter is going to give him even more speed, which is going to be key to fighting the smaller guy.
How much do you expect him to weigh on Friday?
In English is, I think he'll come in. I'll be very surprised if he weighs more than 18.5 stone.
18, and I have to go on Google. 18.
Times that by 14.
Is it times by 14? Is that what it is? That's 259.
Yeah. 259, yes. So it's quite heavy.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, I should have said he was over 350 pounds.
Yes,
he had to lose.
He was.
Yeah, that's what he was. But look, Usyk's no slouch. I mean, he's got the perfect record. I mean, he was the best in the Olympics. He won the gold medal. He was the best of his generation of cruiserweights. He unified the four belts at cruiserweight. He's undefeated for 4.5 years as a heavyweight, which is he's grown into it as a heavyweight. He's used to fighting big guys. He beat Joshua twice, and Joshua's a big guy who had a much longer reach than he did, and he still managed to out-jab him from the outside, not in fighting, on the outside. So he's used to that. But I think with Tyson, it's obviously a very, very different type of fighter, very cuter, very smarter, and you know, this is going to be the battle of the jabs for the first couple of rounds. If Tyson does what I expect him to do, which is to be dominant, take the centre of the ring, keep him on his back foot, I can genuinely see him stopping him in the latter rounds.
I remember wondering about this back in October when he fought Ngannou. There was so much to do. There was so much on his plate. There were these dinners and whatnot, and it felt like almost he was a participant in this big extravaganza as opposed to someone who was getting ready to go to battle. And so I'm wondering if this time around, did you say we need to do less? We need to be switched on here. We can't be doing all this other stuff because this is extremely important, obviously.
Well, that is the case. I mean, this is the most important fight of his career. This is legacy. This is what it's all about. The first time this century, we're going to see a unified heavyweight champion, whoever it's going to be. But there's no excuses for the last one. There were things going on behind the scenes, but you know what? It's no good talking about it. It's what you do on the night that counts. And with a bad performance, good fighters with bad performances still win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did that night. And I'm going to take my hat to Ngannou because I didn't expect him to shape up the way he did. You know, he did actually come in and he actually shaped up like a boxer, and he did very well until Tyson. I think till about the fifth, sixth round, and Tyson started, getting on top of him and working him out. And that's it. A lot of British journalists think that he may be shot. They think he may be gone. They think maybe the fights that he had with Deontay, which were tough fights. A couple of those fights were extremely tough. Certainly the last one. They say they may have taken a lot out of him, and that's an opinion I heard from a couple of respected journalists. I don't go along with that at all because I think he's in great shape. But you're never going to know, do you? When they get to a certain age, fighters. He's 35 years young. If you look at his record, he's not like he's not got a lot of miles on the clock. He's not had a lot of fights each year. And he's only had one, I think, in the last 18 months now, if you look at that. So I do genuinely expect him to come out, and I expect to see a vintage performance from him. I really do expect that.
I've been watching and listening to a lot of his interviews leading up to this fight and looking forward to having him on in about 90 minutes' time. And I noticed that every time he talks about fighting in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, he always says how much he loves it, how he feels comfortable and welcome there. And he always mentions, as opposed to back home, where I don't get the same love and respect, they just take my taxes and people don't, show me. And so could I ask you, how would you describe the relationship Tyson has with the British public and media? Do you feel like they don't give him the love and respect that he deserves as one of the top sportsmen in the entire world representing the UK?
I think there's a couple of people in the media who show no respect for him. And I think that, and I take issue with that. And I have taken issue. The majority of the media don't know what he is. They know he's a great fighter. The British public love him. I don't know about the tax man. The tax man should love him because he's paying lots of taxes. But the British public, how can I put it? I'll put it in the most simplistic terms. He's had 3 books out, 3 books he's had written. And each one of them went to #1 in the bestsellers list. Now, you're only going to buy them if you like him. And I don't think the haters are going to worry about too much buying that. When we did the show at Wembley, when he had his fight against Dillian Whyte, which was his mandatory defence, Dillian Whyte didn't show up at the press conference. Tickets went on sale the day of the press conference. They had over 420,000 people in line trying to buy tickets.
Wow.
It was a 94,000 capacity, which we sold out. That sold out literally in a couple of hours' time. They were all processed, sold out. So there's a lot of disappointed people. It was the biggest selling event that's ever taken place at Wembley Stadium, ever, not boxing, in any event. You've had UFC there, you've had WWE there, and that's sporting match. You've had big England soccer matches. You've had concerts with every act you can think of in the world. Bruce Springsteen, I'm not going to name them all, but they've all appeared there. And he broke all records. We did a crazy open air show at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 60,000 capacity. sold all the tickets on December the 8th. Open air show. I mean, the worst time. I mean, I don't know why we even did it. We did it because we had to get him a fight, but we did it, and we were lucky with the weather. If we'd done it the following week, everybody had been sitting under 2 foot of snow, and people bought the tickets. Tickets went straight away. So that in itself tells you that the public like him. Add to that the Netflix series that he has over here at home with the Furies, all over around the world. But certainly in the UK, it's one of the, I think it was the most watched program or the second most watched program in the UK. That's how much the British public love him. Because there are certain people in the media, and they're not boxing writers, by the way, they're feature writers. And a couple of them don't even like boxing. They're always got a downer on boxing, about doping scandals and so forth. Like there's no doping scandals in other sports. Like in the UK, we've had footballers go to prison for it. We've had jockeys and horses being doped and jockeys going to prison, all sorts of things over the years. I mean, even in ice skating, you had another ice skater breaking an ice skater's leg. So we do have problems in different sports, but they think boxing's an easy target. And because of some of the things that Tyson was alleged to have said, and some things that he shouldn't have said over the years or were misconstrued, some were misconstrued, they've got a downer on him. Now, the fact of the matter is he's bipolar. That's what he is. He'll say what's there, and that is a medical condition. And he does well to do what he does, considering where he came from. Suicidal thoughts, over 350. Well, what is it? He was like about 100, I think it was 120 pounds overweight. He had to lose all that weight. He was so down in the drunks. He was drinking, he was doing drugs. And I'm not telling stories because it's all well documented. So give the man some credit, people, for what he's done, how he's drawn attention to mental illness, how he's been a champion for it, how he's shown that you can overcome these things with support and with a goal and with an aim. And boxing's been his goal and aim. And his aim now is to become the unified champion. So I think he deserves a lot to be applauded for. And the general public, who I've all mentioned, who bought these tickets, who've watched him on TV, watched him on on pay-per-view, who bought the books, who watched the series, they've done it for a reason, because they are fascinated and they like him.
Well said. So can I ask you this? I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse here. This is gigantic. But let's be honest. Fury versus Joshua would be even bigger if it was for undisputed gold if he wins this fight. And I know there's a rematch clause, but is there any chance that we get that if Tyson wins on Saturday, that we get that in September and maybe Usyk has to step aside and gets compensated for that? Is there any chance, or are we looking at a 2-fight series here regardless of what happens on Saturday?
Look, the loser of the fight, which I hope can be Usyk,
yes,
but the loser of the fight has the option to call for the rematch.
Okay.
And that rematch, he will get extremely, extremely well paid for. Huge money. So I'd be very, very surprised, unless he retires, that will happen. He won't fight in September anyway, Tyson. He's down to fight, for the rematch, if it happens, in October. Whoever comes through these two fights, and providing AJ keeps winning, that fight will happen early next year. That there's been discussions about it. Nothing's been guaranteed. Tyson hasn't agreed to it. It's just been discussions amongst, the powers that be. So that's the best case situation. If anything else was to happen, that depends on the loser of the fight. That depends entirely on the loser. And, I generally, what you're saying is absolutely right. But this fight has captured everybody's imagination. 2 undefeated fighters in the prime of their career. Very rarely does this happen. This is not as I said earlier, the young guy challenging the old guy on the way out, passing the baton. This is the two, at their best, the two best heavyweights in the world. And one of those heavyweights, Mr. Usyk, has beaten AJ twice.
Yeah, no, 100%. And one last question on that. If they did fight, it would have to be in the UK, right?
No, that hasn't been decided.
But just as a promoter, it would make the most sense, right?
As a promoter, it would be great. It would for Britain, to be quite honest. Of course, it would. But you know what? They're professional boxers, and they got to go where the money is.
Fair enough.
So, that's what they do. That's what they are. They're no different than. I mean, I'll just put it to you this way. Why did Muhammad Ali fight Foreman in Africa?
Mm-hmm.
Why was there a Thriller in Manila? Why there was a big heavyweight fight between Foreman and Joe Frazier in Jamaica and so forth? And they were American fighters and fought outside their time zones. And they did it because they're professional boxers.
Fair. Does this fight, the one on Saturday, Fury Usyk, does it happen if Mr. Turki Al-Sheikh and Saudi Arabia are not involved? If they have no interest in boxing, does this fight still happen now? Or is it possible to say that this fight never happens, this unification bout, this undisputed title fight, if they are not interested, and him in particular interested in this?
The unification bout may have happened, and we were discussing it, but it had been for far, far, far less money. And there was a lot of procrastination from the other side in getting it done. The fact that His Excellency made a beeline to make this fight happen, that's why it's happening. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. The Riyadh season is a huge season. It's not just boxing, it's a season that encompasses all sports. UFC, for example, has just announced a couple of massive events here. WWE, whatever, all the different contact sports are here. There's football here, there's tennis here. There's going to be some golf here. That's besides all the entertainment from the pop world or the hip hop world or the rock world. Or everything is happening. This is becoming an absolute destination, and it's not just Western music or Western events. It's events from all over the world. It encompasses all cultures, and it's a success story. And what the commitment from His Excellency and Riyadh season to boxing, I think, was really apparent last October when they opened the season with Tyson and Ngannou. That was the opening. That was the first event that opened the season, and it would have closed the season had Tyson not had the cut. So, at the moment, and I believe it will be the case all the time, is that boxing is, people might want not to hear it, but I'm sitting at the moment in the capital of world boxing, where the big events are happening now. That's what's happening. As a Brit, our guys would win titles years ago. They would go out to New York and defend them. Then when Vegas come into being, they'd go to Vegas because obviously there were site fees involved, and casinos would put up money to make those events happen. We're now seeing we're seeing all that happening here, but without the Vegas casinos and the drink and so forth. But it's been really well received. There's a lot of Brits have made the journey here to see this historic fight. And His Excellency is committed to boxing. His team are committed to it. They have shown that, not just with the main events. Look at the undercards. From top to bottom, these events are huge. We as promoters, Bob Arum, myself, Eddie Hearn, whoever else you want to think of, we couldn't put events like this together because they wouldn't stack up financially. But they can stack up because of the Riyadh season, because of the budget they have for Riyadh season, which draws eyeballs to the season and lets them see what's going on here in Saudi and what they're doing, how they're moving forward in the 21st century.
So speaking of stack cards, they announced a couple of weeks ago this card, August 3rd in Los Angeles, headlined by Terrence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov. And the entire card is incredible, arguably one of the best cards in America in quite some time. What, if anything, could you tell us? And I know that this would be a specific question for Mr. Al-Sheikh, but I'll ask you because I know you're very much aligned with him as well, about their plans to do cards outside of Saudi Arabia now. This would be the first. Is this going to be now a consistent thing, several cards under their auspices, but in other countries?
Yes, I mean, what they're doing, Riyadh season are sponsoring the event on August the 3rd in LA. They're doing that for a reason, because that is part of their advertising budget to show what they're doing and what's happening for the Riyadh season. And it will be a celebration of Saudi culture, I think, on the day as well. What we're doing a show at Wembley Stadium on the 21st of September in the UK. We haven't announced the card yet. We're putting that together and working on it as we're speaking. And that, again, will be sponsored by the Riyadh season. So the two main countries outside of Saudi where these events are taking place are obviously the UK and America. And I know there is talk of going to Japan and other countries. So there is a commitment, which is brilliant for our sport, to boxing from Riyadh season and from His Excellency.
Can you give us a cheeky little hint who would be the main event for the 21st of September? Just between you and I. Who we think? Is it AJ?
Between you and I,
Yeah.
it will be a heavyweight fight.
Okay.
And we got a fight on the 5v5, which is another super event.
Oh, June 1st,
on June 1st. And that will determine what happens. So we've got to wait for that. So until then, my lips are sealed.
Fair
I'll be in
enough.
trouble otherwise.
Is the 5v5 on June 1st, is that I don't want to say the end of the Queensberry Matchroom story that has been such a fun thing to watch over the past year, or do you think we're going to see more of these? Like, this feels kind of like the culmination of what we've seen from you and Eddie over the past year. Is this going to continue, you guys doing these 5v5 cards, or is this a one-off?
No, I think it will continue because, there's depth in both of our stables of fighters. There's some great fights there to be made. And why wouldn't we do it? It's a concept that everybody's embraced. You've got promoters working together. Everything we've been accused of not being able to do is happening. But that is also happening because we've managed to get the TV companies to work together. That's a first.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just us, because obviously, we have contracts with our respective broadcasters, and we have to service them. And those broadcasters, for their investment, expect exclusivity. But because of the Riyadh season and His Excellency, we've managed to get this together. And I genuinely think there'll be others, because it's a great concept. It's exciting, and a lot of people have really, certainly in the UK, have bought into this in a big way.
It's wonderful, and it's wonderful to see you guys working together and the networks working together. Could I ask? I've not asked you this question in the past. What is your take on Boxer and Ben Shalom? How do you feel about them? You guys don't really work with them. Neither you or Matchroom do a lot of stuff with them. They're not a part of these Saudi events. How do you feel about the sort of new kid on the block in the UK scene?
Oh, look, he's a young guy and he's working. He's trying to make his mark, and time will tell. Like all of us, when we started off, I was young when I started off in the beginning of the last century. No, when I first started, and when with Eddie, obviously his dad was involved, so there was boxing in the family. Same as like with my boys who work with us. Francis and George. There's boxing in the family, but it's time. I've seen people come in with TV deals and mess it up and fall apart. That's happened in the UK and in the States on numerous occasions. I've seen people come in with deep pockets and blow their money, because this is a unique business. Now, will Ben be successful? As I say, time will tell. The good thing he's got going for him, he's got Sky behind him. I don't know how long he's got on his contract, and time will tell if they're going to renew it or not. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Nobody knows that. In the meantime, he's got to just keep delivering, and if he can keep delivering, then he may do it. But he's at this moment in time, he's put some shows on. A couple of shows have been good shows, to be quite honest. There've been a couple of good shows to watch, so we'll see.
Okay, just a couple more, and I'll let you go. Really appreciate it. How many people do you expect on Saturday in attendance?
It's sold out.
Sold out. What does that mean?
28,000.
28,000.
28,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I will
think
be.
The stadium is. It was 28,000 for the fight with the very first fight with Ngannou. I think it's set out for that.
Wow. And do you expect?
But it is sold out. It is sold out.
What percentage are coming over from the UK? Because I know Tyson's fans generally like to travel. Do you expect a lot?
I would expect. I mean, you know what the Brits are like when they're abroad.
Yeah.
They want to go out. They want to get party and so forth. And there's nothing to stop you partying, except that you're not going to be drinking because of the culture and the religion, and that's how it is. But I think there's around 4,000 or 5,000 people who've made the journey, which is big.
That's amazing.
And remember, it's very hot here this time of year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 100. I think it's about 105 degrees at the moment.
Is there a difference?
Although it's air conditioned. Don't get me wrong, everything's air conditioned.
Yes, of course.
But
No, it is a hot time of the year. I noticed.
And the stadium, by the way, the stadium is state of the art.
Mm-hmm.
It's a phenomenal stadium.
It's the same one that AJ and Ngannou fought in March, right?
Yes.
The Kingdom Stadium.
Yes.
Right.
That's correct.
How would you describe his demeanor this week? Because I noticed in a lot of the interviews, the answers are short. He's a little surly. I like this. I like that he's like a little bit, we're not here to just have a fun time. We're here to do a job. Compared to in October, how would you describe how Tyson is this week?
I think Tyson was a bit of a step into the unknown
Mm.
because you've got no video, you've got nothing to prepare for. No one's seen him box, have they? No one had seen him, and he actually came out, as I said earlier, and shaped up a bit like a
Mhm.
fighter, and he had a decent jab. And obviously, AJ, when he fought him, had the benefit of seeing him with Tyson, and working out a game plan, which he'd done very, very successfully. This time round, I mean, he's on the money. I mean, there was no excuses last time, and
Mhm.
there certainly won't be any this time. He is on the money. I have never seen him in my time working with him, being with him, in such good condition, and more importantly, so good mentally.
Amazing. Love to hear that. Two last quick ones, if I can. Number one, do you have an official prediction? What are you going with?
I believe Tyson will dominate the fight, and I believe he will stop him just after midway.
Wow. Okay. Love that. And number two, congratulations on recently signing Chantelle Cameron, the former super lightweight champion. Can I ask how that came about? And there seemed to be some talk that she was unhappy towards the end of her run with Matchroom. Did she express any of that to you? And what are you looking to do with her next?
I'll be very honest here. The deal was done by my son George, who's got a great relationship with her. I don't know what the relationship with Matchroom was at the end of the day. I think the contract expired, and she spoke with us, and she's with us. One thing's for sure now: she's going to get tip-top treatment, certainly from us, because she deserves it. She's a star, an absolute star, and I've never been. Early days, I wasn't an advocate of women's boxing. I have changed my mind on that. And I've done that because the standard has improved drastically. And what I mean by the standard, I think quite a few years ago, there were some outstanding women, but the rest of them were pretty average. Now you can see because they're taking up when they're younger, and they're training hard, and they're absolutely giving it all they got. You've got some really good women fighters there, and there's some excellent and exciting fights to be made.
Does she have her next fight booked yet?
Yeah, she's going to fight probably for the interim title. We're announcing that next week when we get back to the UK.
You can announce it here. Why wait?
I'll get told off.
Who's telling
My
you
son
off?
says that-
You're the boss. Your
I'll get
son's
told-
telling you
I'll
off?
tell you what I'll do. Let's speak next week.
Okay.
Who tells me off? My wife tells me off
No,
regularly
that's
every
fair.
day.
That's fair.
Let's. Why don't we do it next week, and we'll announce it to you the day before.
I love that. We'll talk about the big win next week on the program by one Tyson Fury.
That would be fantastic. It's a pleasure and a delight to always speak to you. You know that. We think the world of you.
Thank you so much, and good luck to you and the team on Saturday. Really appreciate it, Frank.
Thank you. God bless you all.
There he is, the great Frank Warren of Queensberry. Tremendous stuff. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it very much. Hey, if you like this video, give us the old thumbs up. Subscribe as well. You could get many more of these videos on the channel, so please do that. We would love you forever if you did so.